One day I was playing Roblox. A few minutes later I met this guy in Adopt Me. We became friends. Then a little later we started dating. I gave him my number and we started texting. He wanted to FaceTime but I had to go to my grandma's house, so I told him I would FaceTime later. Either way I was a little nervous to FaceTime. Okay, anyway I got to my grandma's house and I decided to bring my laptop because I still wanted to play Adopt Me with my boyfriend. I noticed that my grandma was on her phone the whole time. She literally never goes on her phone. Like when I went to say hi to her, she literally slapped me and told me to go away. Like, bitch, chill out, what did I do? Anyway, I went to join Adopt Me and I saw that my boyfriend was online. I joined and gave him a free giraffe. A second later my grandma jumps 5 feet in the air and she screamed yippee yappy wappy hoo ha hey and she fell on her back. That was the moment I realized I was dating my own grandma. She got rushed to the hospital. A day later my mom told me she died. We went to her funeral. It was going normal until all of a sudden I hear the Adopt Me music coming from her funeral casket.
My pad fell out in front of my boyfriend and his family. Story time. So y'all remember when your girl was evacuated? Well, I remember that, and it was not fun time. It was quite tragic, actually. We're living out of the trailer. We kept on moving back and forth because the fire kept getting closer to us everywhere we went. Let's not forget the fact that I had to drive 2 hours to work. Other than that, it was quite delicious. Anyways, when we first got evacuated and we were packing our shit together, there was some essentials that I forgot to pack, aka my pad. So I had just gotten off of work and I was driving on my way back to the trailer. An hour into the drive, I get this terrible cramp. Ladies, you know the feeling. And I realized I started my cycle. When I got back to the trailer, I didn't have anything I could use. So your girl had to use the old reliable TP. Ladies, don't act like you never had to do this before either. I changed out of my clothes, used the TP. I was walking out to go to the store. As I was walking, right in front of my boyfriend's parents, toilet paper balls. What made it worse is my boyfriend thought it was poop. He made fun of me at first and then he felt bad. I ran away crying. This guy followed me and took pictures of me inside a Walmart. Story time. So this happened about two and a half weeks ago, and the first mistake I made was I went to Walmart. Does anything good ever happen at Walmart? Like, honestly, every time I go, something happens. Anyways, the second mistake I made was looking like a whole ass main character of a Hallmark movie. A Hallmark movie. Like, look at me, I was looking like a bad bitch, but also like fresh meat. Next time I should be very careful and look like a scrub. Well, anyways, I was just shopping and vibing, getting followed without even noticing. You know, all the normal stuff. Then I decided to turn in the shampoo section. All I gotta say is I'm so happy that the person I was with realized that someone was following us, because my dumb ass wouldn't have even known. So as this guy is taking pictures of us, the person I was with literally turns around and they're like, hey, stop being a weirdo, I'm taking pictures. Then the guy takes his phone and puts it to his ear, acts like someone was calling him. Sir, you ain't slick. As soon as that happened, I was like, fuck this. And I just left the store because I was like, I'm not trying to have someone follow me. And tell me why when we left the store, he did too. So I ran into my car, locked the doors, and I just drove off. Real tough being one of God's favorites.
I made a little boy cry. Story time. Some of you guys already know this, but I used to babysit kids when I was in high school. Now, most of the kids I babysat were angels, but one of them was the devil. And his name was Gregory. And he would go crazy if he didn't get his way. So one night when I was babysitting him, it had to be around 9 p.m. It was super dark outside. And Gregory wanted to go outside to play. So of course I told him no because it was too dark outside and it's dangerous and yada yada yada. Well, he did not like that answer. So he starts going off on me. He was even using language that an 8-year-old boy shouldn't know. And normally I was able to deal with his temper tantrums, but this time he called me a name. A very offensive name that starts with an F. I'll tell you that much. I was so offended that I pretended to get a call from his mother. And on that call, she told me that his father had just died in a car accident. And when I told him the bad news, it broke his heart. I never worked for them again. We put our teacher in the hospital. Story time. My 6th grade class was so freaking bad, you guys. I mean, I wasn't, but the rest of the kids were horrible. Our classroom was located on the 2nd floor, so sometimes kids would throw things out the window and try to hit the kids on the ground. And normally it would just be things like pencils or crumbled up pieces of paper, nothing that could really hurt anybody, right? But one day while we were taking a test, my teacher had realized she forgot something in her car, so she left us in the classroom by ourselves. And some kids in my class thought it would be perfect to use this opportunity to cheat. So there was one kid in my class, and we're gonna name him Chris, but he decided to be a lookout, so he stood near the window to keep an eye out for the teacher. Well, when he saw her coming, the rest of the kids weren't done cheating yet, so they told him to cause a distraction. So he runs over to his desk, grabs the biggest textbook he can find, and throws it out the window at the teacher. The book hits her in the face, and it busted her bottom lip open. It was so bad that the school had to send her to the hospital.
So, when I was in high school, my freshman year, I had English class with one of my best friends. And every day at the beginning of class, the teacher would make us meditate. So we all had to close our eyes. Now, obviously, people would keep their eyes open and make faces at each other, but I was usually one of the kids that actually listened to the teacher. One day, though, for whatever reason, I decided to open my eyes, and I saw my friend sitting across the room. So I got his attention and we started making faces. The whole class was silent, but then I decided to go. And I wasn't expecting this, but the whole class started laughing. Now, I didn't want to get caught, so I closed my eyes, just in case the teacher looked at me. Then a few minutes later, I opened my eyes again and looked around the room. That's when I saw some other kid with his eyes open, and he went. The teacher asked who did that with her eyes closed, and this kid really stood up and pointed at me. Now, so the teacher started yelling at me, but I stopped her and said, how would he know it was me if his eyes weren't open? Let's just say she didn't end up calling my mom.
When I was in middle school, we couldn't have our phones out during lunch, so we had to find ways to entertain ourselves. So one day my friend decided to tap the girl behind him on the shoulder and turn around. So she turned around and we all started laughing. So he did it again and again. But the third time she turned around and said, I swear to God, if you do that again, I'm going to smack you. So I looked at my friend and said, you won't, no balls. So he tapped her again. I swear I blinked for a second when all I heard was the loudest slap ever. She slapped him so hard, I'm pretty sure I saw her handprint on his face when he walked across the stage for graduation.
This is the time I had a racist Uber driver. So for my birthday this year, we decided to go to Cheesecake Factory and walk around the mall after we drank. It was me, my boyfriend, and his 2 friends, who are also my friends. Obviously, we couldn't drive there if we were drinking, so we called an Uber driver. The first Uber driver was nice. He was cool. Then the Uber driver that picked us up from the Cheesecake Factory, different story. Right off the bat, he looked like a clown. He pulls up in what looks like a white 1998 Honda Odyssey minivan. If you're curious, just look up what that looks like on Google Images. And he had all these stickers on it. Taxi stickers, obviously the Uber sticker, Lyft sticker, Trump stickers. And when we get in the minivan, he's wearing a legit top hat. Like when you see a chauffeur wear a top hat in the movies, and a striped white and black outfit. He had an Alexa plugged into his car, and he put post-it notes up that say, in quotes, say Alexa play. So then my friend was like, hey Alexa, play Pop Smoke. I'm sorry, I really needed to give you this backstory, but like for part 2.
The time I had a racist Uber driver part 2. So we were all bumping to Pop Smoke, and we were all teed. So we decided to mess with him. We started asking him random questions, like, oh, how do you like driving as an Uber driver? Or what's your craziest experience with Uber? So we get to chit-chatting, and then my friend Mike decides to like pretend that he was a drug dealer and starts bragging that he bought a brand new 2020 Audi with his dealer money, which he didn't, and he's not a dealer. And the guy's like, yeah, I've definitely had my fair share of drug dealers. And we were like, how did you know? Like, what happened? And he was like, I've picked up my fair share of black people. And I was like, excuse me, sir, what? What did he say? But not for real, I was tight. I was like, excuse me, what? And I was like, so, like, what, how? And mind you, I was like teed. And when I'm teed, I kind of just say what's on my mind. And I was like, so you think every black person is a drug dealer? And he was like, pretty much. So when he goes to drop us off, I poured out my leftover fettuccine alfredo in his car and screamed he was a racist.
Story time how I found out that my mom was putting our dad's ashes in our food. Yep, our mom would put our dead dad's ashes in our dinner. So basically, after my dad died, my mom showed zero emotion. It's like she really didn't care at all. Like she kind of wanted it to happen. His death was like an unsolved case, and nobody knows how he actually died. And now that I get to think about it, it might have been my mom, but I don't want to jump to conclusions. And if it was her and she sees this video, I don't want to end up like him. Anyways, back to the story. So about a month after he died, she would always post a picture of me and my brother's dinner with the caption, "You'll always be with them." Literally every single night. And honestly, nobody really caught on. All the comments were like, we're praying, this and that. Until one day I was just sitting on the couch and I look over and my mom was pouring something into the mashed potatoes. So I go a little closer and I see her pouring the ashes of my dad into our mashed potatoes. Listen, this story only gets 10 times worse, so like for a part 2 of how my mom was putting my dad's ashes in me and my brother's dinner. Continuing on with the story, after I see her literally pouring my dad's ashes into our mashed potatoes, and I mean, this lady literally sees me staring at her pouring the ashes into our mashed potatoes, and she like doesn't even say anything. I was just, a little shocked. So after that, I just kept quiet until after dinner, and I was mad at my brother that night, so I just let him eat the mashed potatoes. So after dinner, I went up to my mom and asked her why she was putting our dad's ashes in our food. Her exact words were, "Your father was a bad man. He wasn't meant to be here." I said, "What does that have to do with you putting his ashes in our dinner?" She goes, "It will just cleanse your soul." The witches told me to feed my children's father to them. Bishwe? I ended up telling my brother, but then me and him decided not to ever say anything ever again because we don't want her little spirits telling them to do the same thing with us, so